the tool that you've got to go to battle with is something like this. Now, this is not the only way to do it, right? Again, somebody else in yesterday's comments brought up John Patrick, right? And I do this all the time. I do these fun little challenges a lot of times, right? I do the 10% challenge where I say, go to the casino, win 10% every day and leave, right? That was John Patrick's, right? Go take $100, win 10 and go home. Until you can do that, don't continue reading the book. It's what he actually said in one of his books, right? The tools that we have, that by the way is discipline. The tools that we have to not go bankrupt and lose our ass every time we go to the casino is these things that we call the bridge. I've been talking about money management and discipline and bet sizing and bankroll my whole life. David at Casino Quest framed it as the bridge, as this great little framework to talk through it. Let's talk through it, right? Bankroll, how much money you got in the bank and at the table and on the felt, right? Your bankroll comes in phases. How much of it do you have? How are you leveraging your wins and losses, right? How much risk can you absorb, right? Not everybody's the same. Some people are very conservative. Some people are very high risk, right? The marriage of those two matters, right? Can you identify when it's time to leave and when it's time to stay, lean into something, right? Do you have the discipline to stay and play, but under control? Or do you go on tilt, right? Are your emotions allowing you to go on tilt or forcing you into tilt, right? Did you have a goal? One of the greatest statements of all time, and I got to give credit where credit's due. One of my favorite people on YouTube, Jacob from Wager Me This, and I've had the pleasure of playing with Jacob a couple of times at the casino. Guy's a great guy, great guy, good man, good dad, good husband. Also, an astute gambler, right? More on the sports side, but he does a lot of craps. His thing on goals, my thing on goals always, I'm trying to build bankroll, build bankroll, play longer, right? Jacob's thing on goals is this. If you have, let's just take an example. You have $1,000, and let's say that you're John, you're me. You go to the casino with $1,000 and you win 500. Now you have $1,500, right? Me, I take 250 of that. I put it in my master bankroll. Now I have, 10,250. Okay. I take 250 and I split it up. I put some in fun money. I put some in the envelopes like Ken does, whatever. Right. Sometimes whatever. 250 for me, 250 for the bankroll. And then I go back to battle with more money, which is what we're going to talk about today, by the way, this leverage idea. Jacob says, if you do that, that 250 that you added to your master bankroll is still the casino's money. I want you to think about that statement, right? It's still their money because your plan is to put it back in play. They still have their tentacles wrapped around that 250 that you stuck aside for future gambling at bigger levels. The casino still has their grip on it, which is an important thing that I forget when I'm talking about this stuff, right? Even in my own life, I forget about that. It's such a great, if I could encapsulate something, that's a great thing, right? He says it's not money until you turn it into something. So he takes the $500 and goes and buys something. He's like, I'll buy a dresser for my kid's room, or I'll buy hockey stick, or I'll buy, he's got younger kids, right? I'll buy golf clubs, or you buy something with it, or make a car payment with it, or whatever you're going to do with those win, like an extra mortgage payment if you can do it, right? Whatever you do with the win, invest it in the stock market. Turn that money into something. Now you've taken it from the casino. But if you're going to stack it up and keep putting it back at risk again, then it's their money. And you can call it house money, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to do a whole show on that, because I'm going to bring him on, because that's an important thing. I've in the period of your life where you're building your bankroll to play with, you're going to keep doing that. You're going to keep putting it at risk. Right? I'm going to try and build a bankroll in my own life. Right? I'm going to try, and I had to spend a bunch of money last year, rebuild back up to 25. So I have a $25,000 master bankroll that I can safely feel like I can go play with and not have to worry about stuff. Right? To get to that level, though, I've got to take wins and reinvest into the stack. Right? The casino is going to have its tentacles on my money until I get to that number. And when I get to that number, never again. That number stays at that number, and then I take wins and turn it into stuff. Goals are important, man. Goals are so important. And Jacob, I think, really, really speaks about that well. And I have to have him on to talk about it. Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying there. And again, you're going to the movie, and again, it's an exchange at the movie. I'm going to give you, God, $18 for a movie. I'm going to get $18, and I'm going to get 3 hours of entertainment and some popcorn or whatever the hell it is, right? That's an exchange that you're willing to make. At the casino, you're not saying, I'm going to give you $18 so I can be entertained by your pretty dealers. That's not the point. You're giving them $18 on a 6 or something on the hopes that they're selling you that you can turn that $18 into $5,000. And in reality, they're taking your $18 and you're getting nothing out of it. There's no value to it. I just, like I said, the last weekend and week or so, I've been really mulling these things over. And again, although I'm in, building an app that's casino central, right? And will allow casinos to put ads on there. I get that there's a little bit of hypocriticalness in there with me on this, right? I get it. But at the same time, the app that I'm building and the tools that I'm creating are 100% designed to teach this so that you can go there and safely be entertained if that's what you want to do.